All right, guys, we're back with Tony. We had part one. I interviewed Tony a while back on the podcast. He shared about cutting that grass at age 8, starting with raggedy equipment, basically, raggedy is how you got your start.
Absolutely.
And then you just worked with what you got. You had some of the PETA customers that sit out in their lawn chair and watch you. I had those customers where you look at the window and you see the blind shut real quick. They were like peeping through. So I understand how it is. And eventually you got into big money. When I say big money, guys, this is not an exaggeration. This is one of the wealthiest areas per capita in the United States of America. It's multimillionaire after multimillionaire. You really can't afford to live in these neighborhoods if you're not a multimillionaire.
Right, that's correct.
So it's a customer base of multimillionaires. They have money. They're at the end of their life, kind of, and they want to enjoy it. They want to enjoy a nice property. They're hosting people. You're set up for success, Tony. So tell us a little bit about, I know you were talking off air, you're like, the Green Industry Podcast has really helped my business. That blessed me, and I'm sure it'll bless.
I want to tell you the story about exactly how it went.
This is great.
So coming up on the Green Industry Podcast, we got a story to tell where I run across a scary street and I scare Paul and he doesn't know I was there.
True story.
Stay tuned for that.
Yes.
So anyway, how was that? Was that a pretty good
tease? Yeah. Well,
transition there?
Yeah, segue. Mr. Producer, he's critical on me. He's just trying to help me. So that's one of my weaknesses is segues. That was great. But I really want to hear the story.
Yeah.
Because this blesses me to I know we're friends off air, but you listen to the podcast.
Right.
That just motivates me so much.
Yeah. So let's get rolling. So this was like maybe a couple years before you started podcast. I don't think you really had a lawn care YouTube channel either. So I kind of knew your name here and there just from like Facebook groups of like going to the expo and different ones. I just seen your name. Like there are some people that you just kind of see their name, but that's kind of all they're really involved in. Didn't really know much about them. So when I go to the expo, first time, maybe this is second time, I met you because you handed me my GIE rally shirt.
Uh-huh.
You were standing there handing them out. All right. And so I met you like, hey, Paul James. Like, oh, yeah, I seen your name on the thing. And again, this is pre-podcast and all that. And then, so I kind of knew you.
Thursday night, Mega Cavern. I'm standing there with Rusty, Everidge, John Pajak, and me. We're helping Naylor out. We're handing out the shirts.
Yeah. And look, even this shirt, Mr. Richie Plemons gave this to me over at the Ferris booth. And Alex Nickens was standing there, too. This was, a couple years ago. Anyway, so that's kind of where, okay. I seen the name. Now I know what the guy looks like. It's not like we chatted forever. There's hundreds of people
passing by. That was a big old line.
Yeah. But I'm like, okay, yeah, I know him. And I thought it was cool because I knew you're from Georgia. So it's like, okay, cool dude, whatever. So then a few months later, and also start my business, I'd always bought cheap trucks, that were raggedy and stuff because my business is debt-free. And now we owe about $64,000 on my house, and this property is worth about $170 or something right now. So a huge blessing to that. We've been working really hard to pay it down. We're about to like rip some floors out and do some stuff inside. This is our first house we bought. Me and my wife we bought this in 2015, and and we replaced roof and done a bunch of stuff. But anyway, so you gave me that shirt, and then so a few months later, I had saved up some money. My other truck had like 275,000 miles on or whatever. A couple different ones I had. Sold those trucks with other money we had. I had about $15,000 that we had to save up, and so I had saw this truck that's sitting right here. I saw it online, somewhere in Duluth somewhere, and so we look at that truck. And I took it to pre-purchase inspection up the street at a garage, and he was like, "Oh, that's going to take 1 or 2 hours, whatever." So like, okay, so what do we do now? I mean, there's nothing we can do. So we had River was like a little baby at this time, and little babies, you'll see when you have them, they don't like to like sit still. If you got to sit still for a long time, it doesn't work. So we just were walking down the side of the road. It had like a sidewalk, and we're just walking, just waiting, And so I was walking down, and there's like 2 lanes, like a turning lane, and then 2 more lanes. So like
big old street.
Right. Yeah, like you're way over there. You're at this little like one of those coin car wash kind of things. And
raggedy.
He was vacuuming out his truck, because a customer's about to ride with him, and I mean that's what I found out later. But what it was is because I have really good vision. I have like 20/20 vision. So I was over there and I said, that yellow shirt that he's wearing, that's a Wright Mower shirt. They just gave it to us from the Wright booth at the expo. My wife's like, are you sure? I'm like, I guarantee that shirt came from the expo this year because they made that shirt just for the expo because I could see what that yellow
I know
shirt
what shirt
like,
it was.
And I still have it. It's in my closet. That it has like mowers up on the trailer.
Ed Wright personally handed me that shirt, and it was a 2X. It was like super big, but yeah.
So I seen that, and I don't know if I knew it was you or not, but I'm like, that guy, whoever he is, he went to the expo because I can see that shirt, and I think it might be Paul because I knew what you look like and stuff then. But again, you're pretty far away, and you're on the backside of this, over where the vacuums are. So I'm gonna run over there. Amy's like, I don't know if you should do that. The traffic's busy and stuff. I'm like, I got it. If I leave here with a guy that I seen at the expo half across the country, I'm not doing anything anyway, and I don't say hey to him. Like, I'm gonna be mad at myself. So she's like, all right. So I ran over there, and Paul, he's just vacuuming away, had the headphones on, and I walk up, and he doesn't know I'm there. And
I sensed that I'm in the. It's not the. This is not Lake Country multimillionaire folk. We're in the hood, Tony. We're in a.
I didn't know that.
A coin truck wash in the bad part of town, and I was having actually a multimillionaire was going to be in my car. He's taking me golfing, and he flew in. I was picking him up, so I'm trying to get my F-150 looking fresh, and I could just sense someone's coming up, and I'm ready to draw a weapon, maybe if I have to, you know what I mean? Because
thankfully didn't, but
yeah, I didn't. But I could sense. I was like, you need to turn around because I could just, you know what I mean? You can
you can
discern something's in my peripheral here, and simultaneously to you saying my name, and I couldn't really hear because of headphones. You started calling me out.
Yeah. And so it was awesome. I met him then. We chat just for a minute. He had to go, whatever.
You scared the crap out of me. You're like, Paul. I'm like, okay, alarm, bro.
And so that's awesome. We just said hey for a minute. He had to get, do what he was doing. And so went about our day.
What are the odds of,
I
don't go there. I literally went to that truck wash because of a unique situation where
that's like 2 hours from here, from where we're sitting. Probably, you think? I mean, it's not like I was just down the street at some dealer. No, this was, I seen it on Facebook or maybe Craigslist or something, and I went there. And I run into Paul. Awesome situation. I felt like, man, that's a cool guy. I felt like, my day was made. So we did that. I did end up buying the truck. It has some problems. I'm very, growing up with my dad and doing this for my whole life, I'm very mechanically inclined. So I've, extracted things out of the block in my truck, so I've fixed a lot of problems with it. And they found out some problems, and knowing that, so I brought the paper back to dealership and showed them and got a few $100 more off, gave them the cash money. And that was kind of a little bit of a shady car dealer. They got motor scooters and stuff out the road. And then when I went to buy it, he's like, we do the cash in the shed in the back. And I'm like, okay. So
this was a sketchy area, y'all. I'm telling you.
So this guy, he's like a foreign guy, you know what I mean? And so I walk with him. We literally go in the back of the property. There's this little, those little portable metal sheds that you can buy and move places. We went inside the shed. He closed the door, and we're just us in there. I mean, it's a small shed. We're just in there. And so we count out the money, and we do the title, do the thing he gives me. I bought the truck, and then so I fixed a lot of things. And that's a huge blessing in your business if you can learn to be mechanically inclined. I wasn't always, but I've learned to. And so in the last 5 years, I really have not had to go to a car shop, not had to go to a mower dealer to have something fixed. Like literally in 5 to 10 years, I've able to do everything myself. I have a lot of automotive diagnostic equipment stuff here because my wife's car, is we also bought with cash. And so, I've replaced a lot of things on that. And especially in today's market, just the way cars are, it's insane. But anyway, so bought that truck. But anyway, so here's how it goes. So fast forward. So started my business, started listening to Paul's podcast. Now, I've already had my business going. This is probably like my 9th year today, or 10th or whatever it is. And so, when I first started, you have those seasonal clients. They want you to come every 2 weeks, clean up all their stuff perfect, and then once the lake holidays are over, don't worry about it, we're good, that kind of thing. So I had those customers for many years. And then I upgrade as I find them to bi-weekly 12-month houses. A lot of people here want bi-weekly because they're not here all the time. They don't, they just, they got to keep it, maintain, but they're not really worried about the weekly. But this year, so I'm like, but see, me as a solo guy, I want to keep it solo. I'm getting calls every day. I'm turning yards down. I'm like, so fast forward, so 9 years later, I have 2 kids now. I'm like, man, I got to, and listening to your podcast over the last couple of years, I feel so encouraged about my worth my dad helps me with that as well. But to also hear it from a source like you, like, hey, you're worth it. You can change your business. And then something that I guess not haunts me, but something I think about every day. When I fast forward to when I'm 50 years old, if my business is not exactly how I want it to be, it's my fault. And it's nobody else's fault. And I have to get it to that point. So over the last year, I'm like, I'm going to change all of my route to 12-month weekly service. And that's something I've been working on over the last year because about half of my, as I've gotten good customers over the years, about half of my route was already weekly. So I'm like, I'm going to do the other half. And so over this last year, and I've never lost a client because of quality or anything. People love having me out there. Most of my customers I've had for 8 years, that I even started my business with. But I want a lot of my customers to stick with me. So I figured out, okay, I started at my most favorite customers, gave them a very, very competitive weekly price, which I may have to raise that in the future. But I was like, either I raise up my bi-weekly price a bunch, but me and my wife talking about it, I felt like, man, I want to change all my route to where it's all weekly. Monday, I do the same route. Tuesday, same route. Wednesday. And if you have to go to the expo or something, it's no big deal. You call the people like, hey, I'm not coming this week because of whatever. Then you're just right back on the same route next week. It's almost like it was just a bi-weekly, not a big deal. But see, if you have 2 bi-weekly routes, okay, when I come back from the expo, I have double the yards that you have to catch up on and all that.
And in October, the grass is barely growing. And here in Georgia, it's really transitioning into dormancy. And all you're playing right then is the Leaf game. So
Right. And the lake holidays here are nuts. So think about all those biweekly customers. Well, guess what? 4th of July, they all want to be done. All the biweeklies want to be done. They want new flowers. They want, this, that, and the other. All right. And so I felt like, okay, if I'm going to advance my career, I could raise prices and keep my business exactly like it is. But this year I decided, you know what? Nope. Encouragement from Paul. He's preaching it to people every day. I'm changing my whole route to weekly. I'm going to start with my most favorite customers, talk to them in person, type out email, go with the thing, tell them, hey, this is the new price. It's going to increase some because we're going to go to a weekly service. I'm changing my whole business like that. And I completely understand if you don't want to do that. I'm friends with lots of guys in the business. I'll walk the property with them. I will make the transition completely smooth if you want to stick with exactly how it was. And so I've done that. I've started rolling it out. And, I rolled it out in I wanted my weekly price to be competitive because I want my current customers I had for 8 years. I want to keep a lot of them if I can. So I started my most favorite one, but something I didn't anticipate is like 95% of my customers, even though I tell them, hey, your bill's going up $100 a month or whatever, for let's say, okay, for example, let's say we have a regular, not like your friends, like a huge house, but let's say you have like a smaller gated community house, maybe it's 3/4 acre, some of it's natural area, it's just a normal house. Let's say a bi-weekly price. Let's say it was $150 a month, 12 months a year. So your weekly price, let's say it's $250. Let's say it's $275 or whatever. And there are some that I priced maybe at $250, and I want to get it up to maybe that $275 or whatever. But see, rolling this first out, it's going to be a huge jump for them to go to $150 to $250. But as I started rolling it out, and obviously, I have some customers that are $500 a month, and I have some that are on the low side. And so something I didn't anticipate was that 95% of the customers like, we didn't really want to spend that much, but we're not losing you, Tony.
Yep.
Whatever it takes to keep you, that's what it's going to take.
Sir.
So now I'm in another predicament because here's what I was banking. I was like, okay, Paul's helped me. Every episode, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get the courage. Because, this is hard to go to 50, just like your route. It's hard to go to 50 people I'm friends with, been to some of their weddings, blah, blah, blah. They know my kids. They buy me stuff for Christmas, all these things. It's hard to go talking like, hey, at the end of this year, I'm not going to do your yard anymore. Those kind of, and that's hard to do.
Yes.
Maybe it would be easier if I had crews and all that. I wouldn't have such like close relationship with them, but still I have to do it. And still I was encouraged from the Green Industry Podcast. Paul, is pushing all of us every episode. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. I don't care if it's hard. So from now until October, it's going to be really tough because I'm having to, they always want to come out and talk about let's say you type them out an email. Well, what's going to happen that next week you pull up, do the yard, they're going to come out, talk to you about it, in person. Then you got to have another 20-minute conversation explaining, all that. So it's super hard. And I was figuring, okay, if 50% leave me, I'll be right at basically the number I wanted of route per week. But like 95% of people want to keep me. And so now I'm having another problem. So what I've done is there's another gated neighborhood where I only have very little in there. And so I told them that I'm going to be stopping them, end of the year, and I'll help them find someone and all that. In another couple neighborhoods where I had a couple, and I told them not. But before I started all this, because see, in the spring you get that spring rush, so I accepted maybe three-ish new weekly big accounts, because I felt like, okay, even if we go through this transition, even if I lose more than 50%, I'm saying I signed up 3 new ones that were on the new weekly plan and all that. So I wanted to have my family, we're set either way, even if 50% leave, I have the full route backed up. And so we did this, we started rolling it out. And so now it's just tough because I have some new accounts, for the new format, and I'm still doing all of my old biweeklies, and I'm talking to all of them, through the route. But I'm so encouraged from Paul to, even though it's hard, even though it's a hard season where I'm having to work weekends and do all this junk right now, it's going to be worth it by the time I get to the expo.
Yeah, so. It's definitely going to be worth it. It's a great problem to have. We're going to hear more with Tony from beautiful Lake Country. Coming right up. What kind of animal is this, Tony?
Those are donkeys.
Donkeys. Okay. I'm used to being in Atlanta, man. We had other kind of donkeys around there. And I'm looking. I'm like, what? Is that a horse? A donkey? We're in Lake Country, folks. I'm finding out what's the difference between a donkey and a horse. It looks like a horse.
Yeah. It's not. Well, if you see a mule, that's a cross between a horse and a donkey. But those are just straight up donkeys.
All right.
That's why they're small and all that.
We'll be right back from Lake Country, having a great time here on the 2nd annual Summer Road Tour. All right, friends, we're back here with the donkeys, the birds.
Yeah.
Beautiful sunny day here at Lake Country, right outside. I guess we could walk down to the shores of Lake Oconee. Absolutely love this place. And Tony's in a big transitional year. He's really raising his rates, and we've had the same issue. When you do a great job, I had an emergency room doctor, big money. The guy makes $20,000 a month plus. I'm sure he makes more than that. And I was charging $300 a month. I emailed them the rate increase letter and let them know it's $400 a month with the anticipation of they're going to tell me to take a hike.
Right.
And then, he comes home. He has all kind of cars and trucks and all this stuff. And he comes home one morning and he's in his outfit. And he walks out, like you said, and he's like, "Hey, Paul." He's like, "I saw you're raising your rates." And I was like thinking he's about to tell me he's firing me or whatever. And he's like, "Well, you're doing a good job. And, my wife will make the adjustment." And just walks right in the garage, just like that. And I'm like, because my mind was thinking, 300 and Tony, I priced when I was running my hourly rate, I was making $29 per man hour.
Oh wow.
And my overhead like my overhead's near that. Just
right,
when you factor in all the overhead, in my business, it was actually, I had a lot of stuff going on. It was like $5,500 in overhead just to pay for all my, I wasn't that, I just had a bunch of stuff I was paying on.
Yeah.
It's $5,500. I got to make that just to tread water.
Right.
So then you have, anyway, you ain't going to survive in business for $29 an hour. So I had to raise everything by like 25%. And lo and behold, they didn't want, they valued it looking perfect versus paying an extra $100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had the same experience. I thought for sure there's no way these people are going to go for this. And it was like no big deal.
And that was the crazy thing is you guys purchased that rate increase letter. It's only $25?
We raised the rate on the rate increase letter.
It might have used to be 20, but maybe now it's a little more than that.
Yeah, it's 27, and it's, hey, we'll raise it again. I practice what I preach.
So,
Mr. Producer, don't get any ideas. Man. We all raise our rates, and then Naylor, Fullerton, Caleb Allman, all of us are like, oh, Mr. Producer. Anyway, he's worth it.
So I go down through my list, and like you're saying, I was like, go through all my names, and I wrote them all out and like, okay, I contacted this person, and and I planned out this route. But like you're saying, I planned, I'm like, okay, these people, they're probably gonna drop me. Okay, these people are gonna drop me. These people, whatever. And it went down. And the problem is that it doesn't work just like how life goes. It doesn't work out exactly like I think. Some of the ones I thought would be no, they're yes. Some of the ones I thought would be yes. Oh, my house is going to be sold anyway. See, that's another thing. Here in the gated communities, there's no real estate signs or anything like that allowed.
Oh, yeah.
So and the long guys last to know, right? If the house is sold or whatever. So you just, you have no idea. And houses here this year within 5 hours, they usually have like 10 offers over asking price. I just had a customer buy a lake house. He owned the one across the street. He bought the one across the street from that, 0.38 of an acre on the water, and he paid $2,900,066.
Almost $3 million.
Yeah, basically $3 million, and it's a nice house. It's in Reynolds, all that mess, but it's just like, man, that's crazy. And like he bought it before it was even went on the market, kind of thing. Like he's
cash
like,
offer.
I want it, Yeah, and so he still has it. So now I have to mow both houses, But anyway, so I'm going down through, and it doesn't plan out exactly like I thought. And so now, so down in the old town part of town, maybe 15 minutes away, I have a couple lawns down there because my wife's great aunt lives down there. She's a widow. About 10 years ago, we put sod in her front yard before her husband even passed away or whatever. I still do her lawn. I do her neighbor's lawns and stuff like that. And so I was planning, okay, I'll keep those couple bi-weekly just because, their family and all that. And I have my church, which is a 6.5 acre property. There is a couple, that's with the buildings and stuff like that. But, there's big old parking lots that you got to spray. Because some of them are gravel, and that's a mess. But and then a couple big fields that I mow and stuff. And so now I'm having a hard time. Like, okay, all these in these 2-3 neighborhoods I work in, a lot of these people, more than I thought, approved it. So I'm like, maybe I have to. I'm having to I've been part of my church for 10 years. I play in the band. It's a big church, but I'm kind of involved in all of it. The meetings, the whole deal. And so but see. Here's another, I think of Paul like, okay, if it doesn't fit your business model, maybe I still need to drop it. And I mean, they pay me and stuff. Like, it's not like a charity thing. Like, they use my service. But it's a 6.5 acre property, and I don't have like a big 60-inch mower, and I don't buy one because 60-inch mowers are way too much, for these, Reynolds properties. Right. So it's like, do I buy this big old mower just for that one property?
The ROI on that ain't there.
But, so for the last 7 years, I've been doing my church property, but with the 48-inch, it takes a long time. It takes longer than it should to mow that property. And so I'm kind of figuring out, okay, a lot of these ones in the neighborhoods I want, more of them have approved it than I was planning. So like maybe, even though I was planning on keeping those couple in the old town and keeping my church and stuff, I have to do something come October because like all my routes about to double. And so I have to do something. And so I'm even thinking about biting the bullet, talking with the people, having the church use another service. I mean, my church is a thriving church, multi-campuses, whatever. I mean, they can get someone, but they want me, to do it, obviously. But so now I'm in that hard place. And so I would say to you guys, just starting your business, you think, oh man, if I could just get a bunch of customers, like my life will just be easy. You know what I mean? And then, so I thought that too when I was first starting my business. And then years later, you have a whole bunch of customers, and then you have a whole bunch of different problems. I'm working more hours than I ever have, which I mean, I'm making good money right now, whatever. But so thankfully, so that's kind of my wrap up, in my business as a solo lawn care provider. I'll even tell you guys, I do about 110, a year, but, I don't pay employees and stuff. So, I do pretty well. And that, fluctuates up and down and, goes up a little bit, each year. But so now I'm even having some more struggles of, now even with my new format, I'm going to have a few too many than I should have still. And so now I'm having to even make some more hard choices. And so me and my wife would talk about, it's just, we got to make it through this season because I'm doing extra properties. I'm working weekends and doing this stuff. But if Paul says he's coming, I don't care what customers are going. I'm supposed to be out mowing around someone's pool right now, but I'm not.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to work. I really appreciate you taking time to show us your setup. How can people follow your story on the YouTube?
Tony's Lawn Care on YouTube, and anything else I do, I mention it in those videos and stuff. It's in the description. So just that one place, Tony's Lawn Care.
You'll be coming to the GIE+EXPO 2021,
Absolutely.
October 20th through 22nd, Louisville,
and so
Kentucky.
I want to thank my dad. I want to thank, because he was integral in helping me start my business as I grew up and helped me do the whole process. We're still very tight right now. I'll still help do things with him, if need be and all that. And my younger brother still works with my dad. So it's a great thing. My dad lives about 4 miles up the road. He has a 5 acre, like a farm type little property, and it's awesome. He has, his tractors and all kinds of stuff. And so I just, and my wife has been with me this whole journey. She helps with my books. She helps with my taxes. So we do this together. She knows all my customers, like This is not like, okay, husband does lawn care business, wife does this. It's not that. This lawn care,
Family business.
this is our life. Like this, we communicate all throughout the day. My wife, like this is what we do. As a family, we do this together. And so it's a blessing because I'm able to do this. My kids have never been to daycare. I'm personally convicted that I don't want to put my kids into public schools, especially because of, things they're teaching, things that are going on right now. And so what a blessing it is that we're able to run this lawn care business together. As a solo guy, it can be done. It's easy, have savings, have insurance, have all these things, health stuff, have things in line, but it can completely be done. And now we live well below our means. We don't have a big extravagant house yet. We don't have the new cars and, and all that stuff. But for me, it's worth it to trade for the lifestyle of our kids get to be with their mom during the day. And so for me, that's just a conviction. And lawn care allows me to do that because I'm able to make way more than I would if I work at Costco or even if I went up in management or whatever. This lawn care lifestyle is a huge blessing if I see it right. Even though I grew up and, you grow up doing a family business, you don't always see it as a blessing. But now, years later, with the help of Paul and social media people and, just my dad and just helping work on my perspective, now I see it as a huge blessing. And this podcast is a huge blessing to everyone that listens to it. If you're a new beginner guy, it can completely be done. Now, as I get older, if we plan it out correctly, do our savings, do our investments, all these things, because see, that's a question people have. When you're 70, you can't do 50 yards. And I agree with that 100%. But if I do my investing properly, I follow Dave Ramsey, and so I follow his steps. And so we already have about $70K in me and my wife's REA.
Nice.
Or IRA.
RA.
Yeah.
Roth IRA?
Yeah, Roth. Yep. And
I'm going to have a Dave Ramsey listener
so
too.
by the time I'm 60, I will be able to slow down. I'll be able to go way less yards. I want to be someone that my church, if someone goes into the hospital, they call me and I go over there, whatever hour or day it is, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And there are discipleship opportunities if you have a lot of guys that work for you. And so I don't get a pass on not discipling younger guys. I have younger guys that I'm discipling now, and I also have a mentor too. So I don't get an excuse on that. We can't just can't be loners in life, right? We're only as strong as our team, and that's 100% correct. So, but me as a solo guy, as I grow older, I'll be able to slow down, or I probably will have, one or two helpers with me, and they'll be able to help me when I get older. And so that's kind of my plan as I get older. And like I said, if I do my finances correctly and I live below my means, I should be pretty good.
Compound interest.
Yeah, regardless. So
awesome. Well, Tony, we appreciate your time hosting me here in Lake Country. I know we got a full day. I got to hit the highway. You got to hit the mower, and we'll keep this rolling. So thanks for listening to today's episode of the Green Industry Podcast. Smash that follow button and turn on the notifications so the next episode will be ready for you bright and early tomorrow morning. Thank you, Tony.
Man, you're a blessing in my life, and I thank you.
Thank you.